I work as night security for an abandoned racetrack in eastern Wisconsin. What is trapped here may be the most evil thing I've seen. The former Fokker Speedway was a half-mile dirt oval located around an hour south of La Crosse. This track was only around for around 6 seasons in the late 80s before being shut down due to financial concerns, or so the local paper said. When I read the ad for this place, it was pinned on a local bar's newsboard with a number to call. I called the phone number and, just like that, landed the job. It seemed too easy when I landed the job, and my employer asked me to start immediately. But that was around half a year ago, and I did not have any problems until approximately 3 weeks ago. I walked into the old spectator gates at 8:45. The sun glowed an orangish red as it peaked above the thick oaks. I walked up a slight incline to the old announcer stand, which had been refurbished recently as a security center. I grabbed my time card and clocked in for the night, and this place usually was tranquil at night. Every once in a while, you'd catch some teenagers breaking in to drink or the occasional horny couple looking for a place to have some fun. However, this place wasn't as innocent and easy as dealing with dumb teenagers. When the Fokker family built this speedway, they plowed over a Native American burial ground. This place has always had an eerie feeling. You'll hear things at night. From what my employer has said, something stalks the backwoods. However, I haven't experienced anything so far outside of the occasional light in the distance or noises, but I've chalked it up to just being this place rotting away. I looked at the camera screens. Camera 1 was located at the old infield, looking over the old pit stalls where the race team's haulers would be parked and crews would work on the cars. Camera 2 was placed at the hauler entrance and employee gate, where those pesky teenagers would tend to enter most of the time. Camera 3 was positioned at the old bathrooms and concessions area, just to the right of Camera 4, which overlooked the spectator gate and main entrance. I grabbed my flashlight and set off to do my first evening rounds as the sun dipped below the trees, casting an almost unnatural shadow on the buildings. I walked down the incline towards the main gate, ensuring it was locked as I checked the old bathrooms. They were empty, covered in graffiti and grime. I approached the concession stand, where an old grill and popcorn machine stood, broken and forgotten. A faint noise to my right sounded like a child laughing near the turn 4 stands. Expecting it to be teenagers, I flashed my light over, scanning the stands carefully and methodically. Hello. This place is private property. If you don't come out now, you will be detained and charged with criminal trespass. I bluffed, knowing full well I had no power to do anything, but it worked as a good scare tactic. I walked towards the stands. The rusted metal of the stands stood proud as the rotting wood crumbled as I scanned again. Nothing. I shrugged it off as the place rotted away as I continued. I followed the fence and trail as I went back into the boneyard, where old race cars were left by teams or donated as last-minute parts cars. Scanning slowly, I reached a small clearing. The overgrown wrecks of old late models dotted the clearing. Pieces ripped off, and half-torn down motors were a testament to the place's glory days. The wind picked up, the tops of the trees lapping slightly back and forth. I navigated through the sea of car parts, reaching the trail on the other side. A significant crashing noise caught my ears as I swung to the left. I shined my light as I felt my heart rate pick up. The bramble shook as a tree came crashing down, slamming a couple of feet from me. I stood frozen with fear, unable to move my muscles telling me to run. After the initial shock went through my body, I drew my gun, a compact .45 auto, 6+1 in the chamber. My gut churned with thoughts, but one study remained clear. Something brought that tree down. I could not place why my conscience was screaming that, but I shrugged it off, trying to downplay my fear, chalking it up to the night and coincidence. I hurriedly continued, checking the employee gate and scanning the infield, before returning to my booth, looking at the cameras as I sat down and checked my watch. The time read 9:33, only around 30 minutes into my night shift. Looking out the windows of the old press box, I pulled out my laptop and put on some YouTube to help pass the time. I checked the cameras every minute, looking for any abnormality, my usual routine. After a couple of hours of watching cooking videos, my alarm rang, signifying midnight. I got up, stretched my legs, paused the video I was watching, and closed the laptop. I walked down the same incline again when someone whispered to my right. I drew my gun, pointed my flashlight over, and scanned the stands before me. And from the darkness at the edge of the stands, a pair of beady red eyes glared at me again, the eyes being 6 to 8 feet off the ground, and I froze. I shook my flashlight to make sure it wasn't reflecting off something. The eyes disappeared as soon as I did, and I hightailed back into the booth. I paced inside my booth, sweating with fear while replaying what had happened in my mind. I took a breath, pulled out my phone, opened it, and clicked call on a contact named Boss Man. The phone rang 3 times before he picked up. Hello. The voice on the phone groggily spoke. No doubt I had him woken up. Hey, boss, this is night security. I am calling you because I saw a pair of red eyes glaring at me from the stands. I spoke, trembling as I paced the room, phone in one hand and my gun in the other. Oh, you should be fine. It's just the wildlife, the voice spoke, suddenly changing the tone. Even through the phone, I could tell my boss was panicked. Is it, though? Those eyes had to be at least 7 feet off the ground. I spoke, my pace and heart rate increasing. Whatever you do, do not go out the door. I will be there to collect you at 6 sharp. It seems the shape is hunting you, he spoke as he hung up the phone with a click. I glared out the window with terror and took a deep breath as I went to check the door's lock. The deadbolt was firmly locked. Walking back to the desk, I heard a distorted breathing. I turned to face the window. I could not see outside the window into the darkness. I turned on my phone's flashlight to see a tall, lanky beast standing before the window. A mutilated bear skull adorned its face, and long claws capped his thin fingers. As soon as the light caught this creature, it shrieked, shaking the glass as it darted to the right. I raised my gun, but it disappeared before I could pull the trigger. I knew the game was on now. This thing wanted my blood. This thing was something I had never seen before. It shook me to my core. After the creature disappeared, I realized I had pissed myself. I grumbled as I pulled out a spare pair of boxers and pants, throwing them on quickly as I listened when I heard a dull thumping noise coming from the roof. I stood up, watching the screen as the creature cut the camera feed, plunging the screen and the room into a sea of grays. I panicked, knowing that the receiver was right above me. I let out 4 rounds into the roof, and I heard the creature scream in pain before the roof shook as the creature jumped off the top. I carefully reloaded, scanning the windows for any movement. As I sat, the speedway became drenched in silence. I walked over to the screen and shut it off, plunging the room into a sea of black. I sat in darkness for what seemed like years, the sense of time melting into the tick of the clock on the wall. Left with nothing to my thoughts, I reflected on my life, accepting my fate if anything were to happen to me. When I felt my phone vibrate, I pulled it out of my pocket, seeing that it was Boss Man, and picked up the phone on the second ring. "Hello, I see you are still alive," he calmly spoke. "I am on my way, be there soon," he added. "Good, I shot that thing, and so far, it has left me alone," I confidently spoke. I heard a grumble on the other end of the line. "It'll come back. You need to be ready, as it won't let you leave until sunrise," he stated bluntly. "Great. Well, I am ready for it when it does come," I stated, followed by a second of silence on the phone. "Listen closely, and I need you to make your way to the infield. That booth isn't safe now that you broke the seal. You must look for a small shack between turns 1 and 2. There you'll be safe." Bossman spoke as I heard a car start as he ended the call. I took another deep breath before turning on my flashlight to unlock the door. I scanned through the window before carefully walking to the door, unlatching it, and slowly peeking out, where I saw nothing. I opened the door further, slowly walking out into the silent night. The wind subsided, leaving a still night, quiet enough to hear a pin drop. I walked down the side of the stands, scanning slowly, looking for any sign of the beast. I made it to the old flag stand, where a gate led to the old track was left ajar, when I looked down and saw a trail of black liquid dotting the ground, disappearing into the dirt. I walked onto the track, and the overgrown dirt sat still and untouched except for fresh human-like footprints in the soil leading towards the infield. I took another deep breath as I continued forward, searching slowly. I climbed over the old pit wall into the infield, destroyed concrete with brush poking through all I could see. I saw the building illuminated in the fringe of my flashlight. I moved towards the building when I heard a noise off to my right. I swung to look at it and saw the creature staring at me, its mouth agape as it drooled slightly between its razor-sharp teeth. The creature glared at me as I glared at it, not moving my flashlight off it as I walked when I tripped on a piece of exposed concrete and landed with a thud as I felt my ankle pop and a flare of pain run up my leg. I shot back up to see the creature had moved, the adrenaline pumping as I moved towards the shack, hurrying my pace as I neared. I dropped to a knee when I caught the beast charging me from the left side. I fired my entire mag into the beast, seemingly unfazed by the bullet impacts into his chest, its razor-sharp claws slicing across my arm as I ducked to avoid the charge. The beast tumbled over me and slumped. I got up and finished the trek to the shack. Breathing heavily, I locked the door from the inside as a motion-activated light came on, revealing a first aid kit and other supplies, like canned goods and bottled water. I grabbed the first aid kit and a pair of scissors from inside and began cutting my sleeve off. It slumped down, catching on my bracelet as I looked at the wound. 3 cuts, decently deep into the flesh. I grabbed a bottle of disinfectant and poured the bottle on my wound. I groaned in pain as it worked, holding a large bandage and some medical tape, applying the dressing, and then taping it. As the adrenaline wore off, the pain in my ankle grew. I carefully pulled up my pant leg and saw it decently swollen up. "Fuck me," I growled as I stood up, sending a shockwave through my leg. It appeared not to be broken, but my ankle was sprained. I shuffled to the window, shining my light through it as the first rays of dawn began peeking through the trees. I breathed an uneasy sigh of relief as I knew Boss Man would arrive soon. I could see the creature. The body stood limp as a black puddle grew around it. I reloaded my gun, down to my last full magazine and 1 partial. The sun grew brighter as I saw a lone vehicle pull into the pits from the window. A short, plump man got out of the car, grabbing an Armalite-style rifle from his passenger seat as he checked the body of the creature before walking over to the door, which I promptly unlocked. Without saying a word, he ushered me to the car, where we hopped in and drove out through the employee entrance, where the door shut behind him when he put the car in park. He looked at me and shifted his sunglasses before pulling an envelope from his jacket and handing it to me. 10K cash, and for all purposes, you were attacked by an animal at work. After recovering, you can leave or stay if you'd like. That is not the only one of those shapes around, but you are the first to survive an encounter with one. He spoke, and a slight hint of an Irish accent appeared as he shook my hand. It has been quite the night, I spoke as we drove off towards the nearest town, but that was 3 weeks ago, and my first day back is tomorrow. As the guy who worked the day shift quit, but with a hefty pay increase and a new guy to work nights, I'm more than happy to stay working at the Fokker Speedway.